Well, hey friends, welcome back to another slab template tutorial. Today we're going to be making this cute salt and pepper shaker that also comes with a little tray. Okay, the first thing you need to do once you've cut out your pieces is patch together K8. This is the one long piece. This is going to be the rim around the tray. It was just too long to fit onto a normal size piece of paper. So you've got to use some tape and just patch it together. So as usual, I'm going to be working with a stoneware today and just give it a wedge and roll it out to 1/2 centimeter thickness. Okay, so your clay is ready to cut out your pieces. So what you want to do is cut out K6 twice, K7 and K8 once, and K5 4 times. This is going to make 2 shakers and 1 tray. Next, I like to put it in front of the fan to dry out a little bit. This just helps with constructing my piece. It makes it a little bit more crisp and not so floppy. So I usually leave it in front of the fan for about 5 to 10 minutes. Now that my pieces are a little bit more firm, I can go ahead and start piecing them together. So I'm going to start with the shakers, and you want to start with the rectangular piece and cut each edge at a 45-degree angle, score and slip or use some water as needed depending on your clay, and piece it together. So you want to press those 45-degree angles together so that they're overlapping, and basically the reason we do this is to make an invisible seam. So press them together, get them nice and stuck, and then you'll want to blend it in. And don't forget the inside. Okay, so then you just want to repeat that for the other shaker. So you should have now 2 cylinders. Now we're going to attach the tops and bottoms. So we're going to be using the round pieces, and first you want to place the cylinders on top. You'll notice that the round pieces are definitely a little bit too big for the cylinders. This is intentional because we want to attach them first and then trim them to size. So use your needle tool to mark exactly where the cylinder sits so you can slip and score as needed and attach. Make sure it's really well attached, and then we're going to move on to the other side. So we're going to close the cylinder, and once we have both sides on, that's when we're going to trim the excess clay. So you want to attach this one just like the other one, slip, score, and attach. Now I like to use a needle tool when removing the clay, and keep in mind the angle of your needle tool because you're going to create an angle here. If you want to have a perfectly straight line, just hold your needle tool straight up and down like I'm doing. You could also bevel the edge by holding your needle tool at an edge. And then of course you want to blend. Repeat for the other side so that you have a closed cylinder. And then you can set that one aside for now because we're going to be doing the same exact thing to the other shaker. Okay, now that our shakers are formed, we're going to move on to the tray. Don't worry, we're going to be adding holes later. I will show you why. We're going to leave that for later in a second. So you want to start with the rim and once again cut the edges at a 45-degree angle. If you don't have this tool, you can just use a needle tool or a knife to cut the 45-degree angle and then slip and score and attach. Next, we're going to put it on the base. So you want to line it up, and I like to use the shakers to kind of gauge the shape that I'm trying to make. And once again, you'll notice the bottom is too big. That's intentional. So you want to mark where it's going to sit, score both sides, and attach just like we always do. And I like to use a paintbrush to kind of clean up the extra scoring lines. And trim the edge and blend it in. And then a rib is really handy here to kind of clean up that line. Okay, so now that we have the main pieces assembled, we're going to set it aside. So this project works way better if you let the pieces harden up a little bit before you do all of the details. It's just going to leave you with cleaner lines and tidier seams. So what I like to do is leave it under a piece of cloth for overnight, and then the next day I'll go back in and finish things up. So with the tray, I'm basically just smoothing it out. I'm also like using my rib here to scrape a little bit of the extra clay off and try and get like a really sharp edge to this tray. But of course you just do this until you're happy with it. There's nothing wrong with a little bit of an organic look. Ta-da! Now we're going to set that aside to dry completely and move on to the shakers. So first I want to cut the hole for the cork. This is how you can get the salt or pepper into the shaker. You absolutely need to include this part. And what you want to look for is some sort of tapered cork. So whether this is from a wine bottle or oil, or you can also often just buy corks from your pottery supplier. This is where I got these ones from. But it's really important that it's a tapered cork because you want to line up the wider end, and this is going to be the shape that you cut out. You need to account for shrinkage here. So I find that if you just use the wide end, because of shrinkage, it ends up somewhere in between and the cork sits really nice. So I just traced the wide end on, and I'm going to be using my X-Acto knife to cut out that circle. Next, we want to cut the holes where the salt can actually come out. So I'm using here a 3mm drill bit or 1/8 of an inch. And I find that this is the right size for my clay shrinkage, but you might need to experiment a little bit with your clay to find the exact right size. And you can see I'm testing the cork here. Basically, it should look like this. It should look really loose, like you could just pop the cork through. That's where we want the size to be. Now we just set it to dry. I usually wait about a week until my pots are completely dry. Then I'm going to load them into the bisque kiln. I'm firing at 900 degrees Celsius. I'm using a white glaze here. And in case the holes where the salt comes out gets sealed, you'll definitely want to poke that out again with a needle tool, because otherwise they definitely will seal. And here's our final result. I think these salt shakers are so cute. They're very minimalistic, but very chic at the same time. And I think the cork adds a really cute little quirky element to them. And they also work really nice. So happy making. I hope that you guys love this template, and let me know what you think down below in the comments. See you next time.